Hello, welcome to How To Studios. Today we're going to be doing some chemistry and balancing chemical equations. We are going to be breaking this video up into a couple parts because there are many different parts of balancing chemical equations that we're going to go over with you guys. So the first part that we're going to do is we're going to be balancing what's called a synthesis equation. Now, a synthesis equation, for example, is an equation where you have two elements or molecules that combine into a single molecule. For example, and we're going to go over how to balance this later, we have here nitrogen and hydrogen to NH3. And this is a synthesis reaction because we have our nitrogen and our hydrogen and we're combining them into NH3. Okay, so first thing we want to know before we start balancing equations is what even is a balanced equation? Balanced equation is when you have the same amount of a type of atom on one side of the equation as you do on the other. So something like if we have O2 plus H2 to H2O, that doesn't make sense because we have two oxygen atoms going in and only one oxygen atom coming out. But this seems like a simple fix. We could just add a 2 over here, right? That's not right because we have just made water into an entirely different molecule. The only thing that we can change when we are doing chemical balancing is the scripts before the atom. So to fix this, we can take out this 2, and now we can make this 2H2O. So now we have 4 hydrogens and 2 oxygens. Now we can put a 2 here. So now we have 4 hydrogens going in, 4 hydrogens coming out, 2 oxygens going in, and 2 oxygens coming out. I'm going to show you how I got all this with a couple examples. So I'm actually going to first go over the equation I just made. So here we have hydrogen and oxygen combining to make water. Okay, so let's see. Here we have 2 hydrogen molecules. Right there. And then over here we have 2 oxygen molecules. And as our result, we are going to have 2 hydrogen molecules and 1 oxygen molecule make up water. Okay, so now I need to figure out how we're going to get 2 H's to become 2 H's and 2 O's to become 1 O. Okay, so what we can do is we look at this and we find what's out of balance first. So what I see is we have 2 oxygens over here and 1 oxygen over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in a second water molecule over here. So we have another oxygen and 2 more hydrogens. Okay, but now I notice that over here we're still now we have hydrogens out of balance. So what we're going to do is we are going to add 2 hydrogens over onto that side to balance out this chemical equation. Okay, and so now we have another hydrogen over here and 1 more hydrogen. So in total, you can see that we have 4 hydrogens over here and 4 hydrogens over here. We also have 2 oxygens and 2 oxygens. Now, to balance this out completely, what we do is we look and see how many H2 molecules we have on this side. So we have 1 pair here and another pair here. So that means we have a total of 2 hydrogens. And we have 1 pair of oxygens here. So we have 1 oxygen, and then we have 2 pairs of water over here. So this is our complete balanced equation. 2 hydrogens plus 1 oxygen is 2 waters. Okay, so now we're going to have another example of a chemical equation. And a cool trick when you are balancing chemical equations, normally the oxygen is the one that you want to balance last, just because of how it balances in an equation. And in part 2 of these videos, we will go over why you always want to balance oxygen last. Okay, so our next example is going to be N2 plus H2 to NH3. Okay, so let's look. Here we have 2 nitrogen molecules, right? There's our 2 little nitrogens. And then next we also have 2 hydrogen molecules. Okay? And so at the end of our chemical equation, we are going to end up with 1 more nitrogen molecule, which is right here. We have 1 more nitrogen. Okay, so there's our nitrogen. Okay, and 3 more hydrogens. Here are 3 hydrogens. Okay, so now we see that both nitrogen and hydrogens don't match up. So right now, all we have to do currently is make a decision. Do we want to go with nitrogens or hydrogens to balance out this equation? I am going to go currently with nitrogens to balance it out. Okay, so on this side, we only have 1 nitrogen, but on this side, we have 2. So what we're going to do first is we are going to add in another NH3 over here. So now we have 2 NH3 on this side of our equation. And now look, our nitrogens perfectly balance right there and there. We have 2 nitrogens, but now we have 6 hydrogens. So what we're going to do there is, since we have H2 over here, we can add in 2 more H2 molecules to get a grand total of 6 hydrogens on that side. So if we go ahead and add those hydrogen molecules in, so we have a hydrogen here, a hydrogen here. Okay, so there's another one, and now you only need 2 more hydrogen molecules to complete this. Here's 1 more hydrogen, and 1 last hydrogen. Okay, so now we can count up. We have 2 nitrogens on this side, and 2 nitrogens on this side. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hydrogens on this side, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hydrogens on this side of the equation. We now have a perfectly balanced equation. So we have 1 pair of nitrogens on this side. So we're going to put our number 1 in front. We have 3 pairs of hydrogen on this side. So we're going to put a 3 in front. And then we have 2 atoms of NH3 on this side. So we are going to put a 2 in front. And now we have our balanced equation. Now I'm going to give you one more example, except this example I'm going to want you to pause the video and see if you can complete it without my help at first, and then I will come in and show you how to exactly balance this equation I'm going to give you. This one is going to be about as difficult as the one that I just showed you. Okay, so we have iron plus oxygen to F2O3. Okay, to start off this chemical equation, we're going to get our 1 iron over here. We're going to get our 2 oxygens right here. And we're going to get 2 more irons and 3 oxygens over here. Okay, so the first thing we notice is that they are all again out of balance. So we have to make a choice yet again. This time I'm going to go with iron. So Iron is fairly simple to balance right now, as you can see. If we add one more iron here, then these two irons are perfectly balanced. Oops. That should be an Fe, not fluorine. Fe2. So here, Fe2. Because fluorine 2, oxygen 3 would not work in this equation. And so now we only have to balance out our oxygens. I notice that if we can make these, if we can put 6 oxygens on this side and 6 oxygens on this side, oxygens will balance. But that would mean we would have 4 irons. But that's simple. We just add 2 more irons over here. So, in the end, what we can do is, I'm just going to do this one numerically, is we're going to have 4 irons plus 3 oxygens to 2 F2O3. And now we can check Fe2. So we have 4 irons on this side and 4 irons on this side. Check. And we have 3 oxygens on this, 6 oxygens on this side and 6 oxygens on this side. So all of our equations balance out. And so this is just a simple synthesis reaction chemical equation balancing technique that you can use. And in our next video, we will go over more complicated reactions and how to balance those equations.